Welcome back to Obscured Reality. Mark, Stevie back with you. All right. We're going to just get right into this one. Tonight, we're going to now prove a conspiracy theory possibly wrong, right? How to remove the conspiracy theory. We might work towards a new one. We're going to see.
All right.
You might have heard this come out recently. I'm not going to say anything to Stephanie. Some of you might have heard this come out recently, very recent. However, just like everything else with this, I'm not seeing a whole lot mainstream, but that's okay. Let's get into some audio right now.
This is April. How may I help you?
Hi, April. My name is Susan Wilkerson. My husband is missing.
Okay.
And it's been about 3 hours, and I have some indication that he must have planned not to be found. He's left his phone. He changed his clothes into I don't know what. I think he's on foot. All of our cars and bicycles are in the garage. I left for a doctor's appointment at about 11:10, and he was here at that time at the house. And I got back from that at noon, and he was gone. He turned it off and left it behind, which seems kind of deliberate because he's always got his phone. He has a smartwatch. I don't know if that's with him or not.
Has he ever done this before?
Never. Nothing even remotely like. He's a retired Air Force Major General. He's very responsive, but he's also facing some medical issues.
Do you have any video at your home?
No.
Has he been diagnosed with any mental disorders or anything like that?
Well, we've been seeing a doc for both physical and mental in terms of anxiety, short-term memory loss, lack of sleep. The same doc I went to see today.
Does he carry any weapons on him?
Well, not generally. He does have a gun safe, and I went to look in the gun safe to see if anything was missing, but I couldn't tell if anything was. He has quite a number of pistols and rifles. Other than saying if his brain and body keep deteriorating, he didn't want to live like that. But it seemed to me that was just a, man, I hate how this is going kind of thing, because I told him, yes, you do. Yes, you do.
Okay. We're going to send some deputies up to talk to you, see if we can search a little bit and see what's going on, okay?
Sure. Thank you very much.
After a career...
I'm still a little bit flabbergasted each time I hear that. We'll just start with you. What do you think? Knowing what we know up to this point and hearing her, William Neal McCasland, missing retired general's wife, Susan McCasland Wilkerson.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I feel really...
That was her night.
I know. I feel really bad for her because, like, you can tell she went through the house and was like, I know my husband. This is not like him. Like, good on her for... like trying to figure it out herself, but at the same time I feel really bad for her because it sounds like maybe it got his like the idea of losing his mind when he's such an intelligent person might have just been too much. And I really hope that he didn't just,
well, that's what it sounds like.
I know.
Sounds more
I don't want it to be.
Well, I'll speak. There's things that strike me about the call. And, let's start another conspiracy theory here on no basis. Well, a little bit. So when he originally went missing, people obviously started speculating immediately. Everyone's talking about, well, not a lot. We're talking about it actually at the beginning. But one of the things that was continuously being asked, medical issues, Alzheimer's, dementia, things like that. Well, I don't know, it was about a week maybe after he went missing. She, if you recall, this was in the news, I believe, had made a quick statement, saying he didn't have any medical issues. He didn't have Alzheimer's. He didn't have dementia. Like, no red flags to her. So now we hear the 911 call, and the dispatcher asks if there's any medical reasons why maybe he could go missing. She goes, well... he's been seeing a doctor, brain issues, deteriorating, memory loss.
Maybe they just hadn't, maybe the doctor hadn't put an actual diagnosis to it yet, so she didn't want to...
let's get into it. No. I think firmly now he clearly walked out to off himself.
Mhm.
I think because you remember they said the sheriff's department had said near the beginning, once they released the fact that he was experiencing this mental fog, even though his wife knew about that and said nothing. I'm not too happy with the 911 call in a way. You mentioned what you just mentioned. I think he purposely offed himself, but you made a statement about maybe the doctor didn't have any diagnosis after this happened, something like that, right? I firmly believe, because remember, it was said, went to the doctor regarding this mental fog. I think it was 2 to 3 months. I think it was 3 months prior to him going missing.
Mhm.
He even stepped down from some roles, positions he was in with some groups for that reason.
Mhm.
2, 3 months. Let's go 3. I'm pretty sure it was 3 months prior when he saw the doctor. Either way, even 2 months, that's enough time. If they did some blood work, some testing, that's enough time to get that back. It's very much enough time. A month would be long. 3 weeks, I think, would probably be acceptable. I think he already had a diagnosis. I think the doctor called him or told him or had him come in, but Susan is clearly on the 911 call talking about a brain deterioration and all this more detail, but publicly, all she said is mental fog. And originally she said, no medical issues, Alzheimer's, dementia, anything. No reason he should go missing because of medical issues. And then she says, yeah, there's mental fog. And then you hear the 911 call. Prior to any of those two things I mentioned, she clearly knew. So I think he already knew,
Yeah.
and it probably wasn't good. Not like terminally ill, but
Progressively
Mm.
bad.
yeah, and in the end, it's not going to be the best. I mean, it's not going to be like painful, but it's going to suck.
Watching your
I'm done.
knowledge slip away.
His wife clearly knew he had made a statement about doing that because he didn't want to live deteriorating, from whatever the news was. Here's what I want to know. This has been a question of mine throughout this whole thing. They said they canvassed 600 to 700 homes in the area for cameras, anything, recordings, anything. Nobody has him on video. And that has made me question, well, where does he live? What does it look like?
Mhm.
Are we talking houses wall to wall next to each other? Is his backyard on the other side of his fence? Is it the backyard of another home? Is there another street behind his house with homes? Or is it just off into the wilderness? Because if you think about that, then I'm wondering, okay, he left out the back,
Mhm.
probably has a fence or, a gate built into the fence, some type of door. If it's more rural, that's more plausible than here. And he could have gone out there. And if there's no homes behind him, do any of the homes, to his right or his left have any cameras that might be facing that would see anything? And we're not hearing much detail. So I was originally wondering, because they have not stated, has the sheriff's department done a forensic analysis of the repairman's vehicle and Susan McCasland's vehicle? Here's why I say that. These are the last two people to see him alive. She said when she went to the doctors, he was at home still. However, there's still no mention of the repairman. And when he left, we don't know if he was still there or not. My guess is no, and I'm not actually going anywhere with that one. But McCasland clearly knew there was an issue going on medically. He probably had already been able to talk to the doctor about what that was, and he clearly would have had a decent amount of time to think and go over this with his wife, possibly, but to think about this and then finally, I'm going to go do it. Now, what I was originally questioning was maybe the wife actually completely knew, and this is not a bad on her, by the way. There's plenty of people who would be in a situation like him who, depending how bad this medical issue was with him, wouldn't want to live the rest of their life like that, right? And he seems like a pretty healthy guy. He's probably going to live a long life. It's going to be a long time in this
Physically.
deteriorating state,
Yeah,
right?
physically, but
Um,
mentally.
yeah. So how do you get out of your house without ever being seen? Well, you have a perfect alibi. Your wife scheduled a doctor's appointment for just after 12 that day, or just after 11, whatever time it was. And hop in the trunk or hop in the back seat, put a blanket over yourself in the back seat. That way you're not on any cameras. And the only thing that's seen is Susan McCasland driving away from her home, going to her doctor's appointment. And she goes, parks at her doctor's appointment. McCasland just simply goes out the back door and off on his merry way. Or same with the repairman. You never know. That's where I was originally going with this. Well, then I hear more of the 911 call, right? And things are a bit clearer. Ah, boy. Let me share my screen right now. I got pictures. I know where she lives. It's publicly out there. You Google it. I'm not going to share the address.
That is a big house. Jesus Christ. Good.
Yeah. It's a big house.
Yes.
Hey, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. You can already see from this image, we're starting to look a little more rural.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of already giving you some information right there. And we have his home right here.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm not gonna, like I said, give the address. We're gonna go back to that in just a moment. So there's the home. Now, this is a street view off Google Maps, right?
Yes.
And looking at the fence. So something I've questioned. And what do we see right here? A possible door in the fence.
Mm-hmm.
You can see something bigger right here. But what you see is these cross beams, which is very typical on a door on a fence or brick wall. Same thing. Even though it's a vinyl one, it's got that cross beam. So he could have left not through the front, kind of through the side. Doesn't matter because they don't have cameras. And now we see it doesn't matter because where all the other homes are, all the views are just blocked by trees and things, right? And it's kind of hilly. So this photo is from Susan McCasland's Wilkerson's Facebook page. A photo she has posted purposely to show this wooden fence, possibly this bush. I'm thinking this is from her backyard. And we can see this mountain range right here, right? Here's another photo she took in her backyard.
Oh, it's really pretty.
Again, see the wooden fence and again, the same mountain range. Pay attention to that. So back to his home, looking pretty rural. You do see this right here, these white stones or whatever they are right there. Well, let's go back to that previous picture and there they are. And you can see the pathway that leads to the fence. Maybe there's a gate there to exit. Maybe there's not. It kind of looks like there could be. It's hard to tell. And then you go back here and you see there's that walkway. Here's those rocks. She was standing somewhere over here taking that picture. Boom, on an angle, just like that. And look up on that fence. The bottom picture is Google Maps Street View. This right here is their home and lined up with that pretty well. So point is, it's her home. Okay.
Yeah.
Now back to the actual map. Just this alone is all we need. You can see how rural it is.
Yeah.
How spread apart everything is. This is in Albuquerque, New Mexico. So how could he easily get out of here without anyone's cameras seeing him? Well, we don't even know who the hell has cameras. And I didn't know there's a shopping center right here earlier. Never even noticed that. Well, he could easily just go bloop, bloop, bloop this way out to this little road, trail, whatever. From there,
it's a highway.
You have this whole thing going up. Or he could easily come out, just go around this way between the homes here.
That's what I was thinking.
Out to this big wash. He also could have gone up to the road here if he knows nobody has cameras, or could have just gone right here over to the road, take that up to the wash. Either way, that wash, you're gone.
Straight into the mountains.
You go anywhere.
Yep.
Let me go. The red backpack is missing. So with the red backpack missing, he may have taken some water and some food so that he could go as far into those mountains as he could get and done. So I think that's what happened. I'm not convinced his wife necessarily did or didn't know, and maybe helped. I would completely understand Um, but I really don't think she did, and here's why. Because then if you're looking at life insurance things, pensions, things like that,
Yeah.
And that turned out to be found out you helped, then that might be different. If they find the body and find it was suicide, and now she's saying she knew about it, so it's like, God, how would that affect any of that? I don't think I don't think he hopped in the backseat and she drove him anywhere. However, very plausible. I mean, honestly, really is. But walking out here, the other thing, 911 call. To me, she did not sound that concerned. And again, obviously, we don't know her, right? So we don't know what her normal tone, levels, pitch, all that stuff is, right? We don't know how she talks normally. But she didn't sound too concerned to me. She clearly knew about it. And even when she mentioned that, you never hear her really in much distress. She's not crying. There's nothing. She also said recently he changed his clothes. She said that because she knew what he was wearing before he left the home. She didn't know what he changed into, but the clothes he was wearing before he left were still there.
Yeah.
So he changed. It's assumed that the missing items, the revolver and holster and red backpack and possibly the boots, don't even know that he took those. I'm sure he did, right? But he planned for a hike. So if anybody can find him, you'll find that 38, So what do you think? Pretty interesting now that there's actually a 911 call and you hear her talk about all these things. She clearly knew before she made any statements, never said a thing. Very pointed questions too. Never said a thing.
She might have been told not to say anything by the police, by a lawyer at that point. We don't know this.
That is very possible.
We don't know the circumstances going on behind the scenes for the investigation. She could have been super calm on the phone because she just didn't want to worry herself. She was obviously very observant of the situation.
If someone's having a mental issue, or some type of, it sounds like deteriorating something, body, brain, who the hell knows.
Yeah. Short-term memory loss is what it was.
He just went missing. No, she specifically said deterioration.
Yeah, it was from an article that I read.
Yeah. She mentioned short-term memory loss as well as deterioration. We hear about those types of things, brain deterioration. Who knows? Maybe it's bones and he's going to be wheelchair bound soon. Who knows? But yeah, it's interesting she knew and never said a thing, but you would think that information would be a little more helpful for anyone that might be in a position to help. People are going to go out hiking and looking for them.
True.
Mention those things because you mention those things, then people stop looking on trails and they look off trail in areas where he could have just wandered off. If he's having this weird thing going on, who knows?
Again, don't know what was going on in the investigation behind the scenes, what was okay to have been released, what was still being determined if it was necessarily to release, pertinence of information or pertinence to investigation. So, that's playing devil's avocado, but
yep, easy debunk here. I mean, we see obviously.
I'm just very sad for her.
A very clear reason as to why he probably went missing.
Yeah.
And if the wife helped, drove him somewhere, props to her. Because a lot of people might not be okay with that and be able to handle that, and then the person's got to figure out, how do I do this? So it's good. It sounds like she's okay with the idea. I would be too, honestly. If it was something bad. So, yep. That is the update. I can't imagine there's going to be a ton more on this. But I just want to mention a couple names real quick because this is where we get into starting a conspiracy theory again. So we already know William McCasland went missing. That brought light back into a 9-month-old case of Monica Reza, who went missing in California and also worked at the same place as him and was under him technically. Well, more has come out since. We're not going into too much detail, but listen to this. Carl Grillmeyer, astrophysicist at Caltech, lived in remote Antelope Valley, California, found shot on his front porch in February 2026, 2 months ago. Had a prior trespassing incident months earlier.
I lived in that valley.
what that means is a neighbor of his, and keep in mind from what I had heard, the neighbors are like a 2-minute walk away. Okay. So rural area, that neighbor had trespassed onto Carl Grillmeyer's property. The suspect, he lived about 2 miles away. The suspect was arrested and charged. The suspect was also tied to other local crimes, carjacking, burglary, blah, blah, blah. So there's Carl Grillmeyer, astrophysicist at Caltech, or was. Frank Mywald, senior engineer scientist at NASA JPL. He died in July 2024. His cause of death, not publicly detailed. No widely reported signs of foul play included in lists due to lack of publicly released details. So here we have a senior engineer scientist at NASA JPL. Cause of death not released. Melissa Casillas worked at Los Alamos National Laboratory, missing since June 2025. She disappeared from home. She left behind her phone, her wallet, and her keys. The phone's reportedly reset or wiped. No confirmed sightings since. The status of that case, still missing. Anthony Chavez, associated with Los Alamos National Laboratory, disappeared during a walk, left behind personal items, wallet, keys, etc. No confirmed sightings. Still missing. Nuno Loureiro, plasma physicist, fusion research, MIT ties, shot and killed at home. Suspect reportedly known to him from years earlier. Case treated as targeted homicide. Jason Thomas, a pharmaceutical scientist, went missing. Later found deceased in a lake. No foul play suspected. So I'm not going to need to say much on how to start that conspiracy theory, but it's already been started. There's some things out there about this, and it's mainly just bringing these people up because obviously someone, ChatGPT, give me anyone in these types of companies with these types of jobs or higher,
Right.
that went missing, or maybe it's related to this McCasland thing. So what do you think about that?
That's weird. Maybe there's something in
numerous
hold
missing
on.
and numerous died.
I have got that. Maybe there is something that is common amongst all of their lines of work that has caused them to exhibit the same short-term memory loss issues, or get sick, or lose their mind in a way. Maybe there's
but some of them were shot too.
yeah, that's
So
true.
yeah.
Those I feel like are outside, like varying, like strange factors. I'm not trying to include those, like shot by an old friend. Okay, someone probably maybe had drug problems and was jealous of somebody else's.
Never know.
There's a lot.
Well, I mean, we're talking about ranks of people here
Oh,
that
I know.
typically aren't doing that.
You never. Well, they got there somehow. They have the degrees behind them. It's not like they got there on merit alone. They have to know something behind this shit.
Yeah.
So, they've probably been in close
interesting.
contact with chemicals or whatever the fuck else. But maybe that's just, you asked me what I thought, I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It could be a biological or chemical connection between all of it that makes them all just fucking, I gotta go. No, I don't know.
Interesting though. How many people of those statures go missing in a 1 to 2, maybe 3 year period of time?
Very
on a normal scale. I mean, let's start overlapping years. Let's start 3 years ago and go back 3 years, and then go back a year from that and go 3 years. That way you're overlapping the years as you go, and run some stats on that. I'm curious compared to how many people in the population of this country in the same period of time, and then
disappear in the same way.
Let's compare those percentages.
Yeah. How many people have rank disappear versus how many normal people?
You're just looking at yes, astrophysicists, this. You'd have to really somehow get into detail on that.
You'd have to have a very detailed explanation
versus normal population.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
And nothing crazy going on with that small set of people, other than they have this type of job. This is where they've gotten in school, and I bet you prior to the last 3 years, it's not anywhere near Um, a high number. It is probably very low because there's so few of them compared to the whole population. I don't know, man. Interesting. Interesting. Were you happy to try to start another conspiracy theory tonight?
It's always fun
Okay.
to see what you have to say and the conspiracy theories you think up.
I mean, these honestly, you don't really have to think them up. They literally pop
Just kind
out.
of fall in your lap.
When you got McCasland missing, and then you look into him and you see the ties he has, and then you see the Tom DeLonge tie, and then you see the Monica Reza tie. Like, just from him missing alone, you could already see it was going to happen.
Mhm.
I'm not coming up with them. I mean, well, it kind of was, but
How many coincidences are too many before it's no longer
Yeah.
a coincidence?
yeah,
Yeah.
it is not to start a new conspiracy. It's just to show how easy it is, right?
Mhm.
But yeah, coincidence. Maybe it takes 20 coincidences in this type of thing before something weird is noticed. Maybe it takes one
Who
because
knows?
it was noticed at one.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if you have an obscure story of your own or a conspiracy theory you think is true, obscuredr1 at Gmail, type story in the subject line and tell us your story. We'll share it on here. With that said, I'm going to go missing, guys. Peace.